A wealthy businessman stepped out of his car and froze. Across the busy sidewalk, people walked past like nothing was wrong. But right there, sitting alone on a cold concrete step, a little girl was crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet, broken sobs. And beside her, a homeless man knelt down gently, offering her the only thing he had left. Half of his sandwich. What happened next, no one saw coming. The city moved fast. Too fast for most people to notice anything that didn't directly concern them. Cars rushed by. Phones buzzed. Conversations overlapped into meaningless noise. And in the middle of it all, people became invisible. Especially people like Daniel. Daniel Carter had once been someone. Not famous. Not rich. But someone with a life that made sense. A steady job as a construction worker. A small apartment. A routine that felt stable. Until one accident changed everything. A fall from scaffolding. A shattered leg. Months without work. Bills piling up. Savings gone. Then the eviction notice. At first, he thought it was temporary. Just a setback. But setbacks have a way of becoming permanent when no one's there to catch you. Friends stopped calling. Employers stopped responding. And slowly, Daniel disappeared from the world he once belonged to. Now, his morning started differently. Not with coffee and a plan. But with cold pavement and uncertainty. He woke up on the same street corner every day, his thin blanket barely enough to fight off the chill. He folded it carefully, habit from a life that once had structure. Then he sat. Watching. Waiting. Most people didn't look at him. Some pretended not to see him. Others looked, but quickly turned away. Like acknowledging him would somehow make his situation real. But Daniel noticed everything. He noticed the businessman who passed every morning at exactly 8:15. The woman who always carried 2 coffees but never offered one. The delivery driver who sometimes nodded slightly. Small things. Because when you have nothing, you start seeing everything. Despite everything, Daniel had something rare. He still cared. One morning, a stray dog limped past his corner. Its leg injured. Its eyes cautious. Most people ignored it. But Daniel didn't. "Hey there," he said softly. The dog hesitated. Then slowly approached. Daniel tore off a piece of his sandwich, the only food he had for the day, and placed it gently on the ground. The dog ate. Then sat beside him. For a while, they just existed together. 2 lives overlooked. Finding comfort in the simplest connection. That was who Daniel was. Not defined by what he lost. But by what he refused to lose. That afternoon, the city felt heavier. Clouds gathered. The air turned colder. People moved faster, trying to outrun the coming rain. Daniel sat on his usual step, pulling his worn jacket tighter around himself. That's when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the rhythm of the city. A quiet cry. He looked around. At first, nothing. Then, he saw her. A little girl. No older than 6. Sitting alone near the edge of the sidewalk. Tears streaming down her face. Her small hands clutching a worn backpack. People walked past her. Some glanced briefly. Most didn't. No one stopped. Daniel watched for a moment. Waiting. Surely someone would come. A parent. A guardian. Anyone. But no one did. He stood up slowly. His legs still stiff from the old injury. Every step a reminder of how far he had fallen. But he walked toward her anyway. "Hey, hey," he said gently, kneeling down a few feet away. The girl flinched slightly. Fear in her eyes. Daniel raised his hand slightly. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. She sniffled. I can't find my mom. Her voice cracked. Daniel's heart tightened. What's your name? Emily. Okay, Emily, he said softly. We're going to figure this out, all right? She nodded weakly. He looked around again. Still no one. Still no help. Are you hungry? He asked. She hesitated. Then nodded. Daniel reached into his bag. Pulled out his sandwich. The last thing he had. He looked at it for a moment. Then at her. And without hesitation. He handed it over. Emily took it slowly. Like she wasn't sure if she should. It's okay, Daniel said with a small smile. I wasn't that hungry anyway. That wasn't true. But it didn't matter. As she ate, her crying softened. Not gone. But quieter. Safer. Daniel stayed there. Not rushing. Not distracted. Just present. Across the street. A black luxury car pulled up. Inside sat Michael Reynolds. A man who measured time in meetings and success in numbers. His world was structured. Controlled. Efficient. He was about to step out when something caught his attention. That scene. A homeless man. Sitting with a crying child. Offering her food. Speaking gently. Protectively. Michael paused. Watching. Something about it didn't fit into his understanding of the world. Sir, his driver asked. Michael didn't respond. Because for the first time in a long time, something had interrupted his routine. Back on the sidewalk. Emily looked up at Daniel. Are you homeless? She asked innocently. Daniel smiled faintly. Yeah. I guess I am. She frowned slightly. Does that mean you don't have anyone? The question hit deeper than expected. Daniel hesitated. Then said softly. It just means I haven't found my way back yet. Emily nodded. Like she understood more than she should at her age. Rain began to fall. Light at first. Then heavier. Daniel took off his jacket. Worn. Thin. Not enough for both of them. But he placed it over Emily anyway. Across the street. Michael opened his car door. And stepped out into the rain. Because something about what he was seeing refused to let him walk away. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Rain fell harder now. Not the kind you could ignore. The kind that forced people to move faster, look down, focus only on themselves. But in the middle of it all, Daniel stayed. Kneeling beside Emily. One hand resting gently on the edge of the step, the other slightly raised, just enough to show her he was there, but not enough to make her uncomfortable. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded, clutching the sandwich with both hands. I think so. Her voice was small. Fragile. But calmer than before. Michael Reynolds stepped closer, his polished shoes splashing through shallow puddles. Up close, the scene felt even more unreal. A man who clearly had nothing. Giving everything he could. To a child who wasn't his. Excuse me, Michael said. Daniel turned immediately, instinctively positioning himself slightly between Emily and the stranger. Not aggressive. Just, protective. Yes, sir, he replied cautiously. Michael noticed that. The instinct. The awareness. You know her? Michael asked. Daniel shook his head. No. I just found her here, alone. Michael looked at Emily. "Hey there," he said gently, lowering his voice. "What's your name?" "Emily," she whispered. "Hi, Emily. I'm Michael. Do you know where your parents are?" She shook her head again. "I got lost." Michael straightened slightly, scanning the area. Busy street. No one looking. No one searching. It didn't sit right. "How long has she been here?" Michael asked. Daniel shrugged. "Long enough for people to walk past." There was no anger in his voice. Just quiet truth. Michael exhaled slowly. Then looked back at Daniel. "You stayed." Daniel glanced at Emily. "Someone had to." That simple answer landed. Michael reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police," he said. "They can help locate her parents." Emily's grip tightened slightly on Daniel's sleeve. "Don't go," she whispered. Daniel looked at her. "I'm right here," he said calmly. "I won't go anywhere." Michael noticed that too. The trust. Already forming. Not because of status. Not because of power. But because Daniel had shown up when it mattered. As Michael made the call, the rain continued pouring. Daniel shifted slightly, trying to shield Emily as much as he could. But his jacket was already soaked. His shirt clung to his skin. Still, he didn't move. "You're going to get sick," Michael said, ending the call. Daniel gave a small shrug. "Wouldn't be the first time." There was a brief silence. Then Michael did something unexpected. He removed his own coat. Expensive. Tailored. Dry. And held it out. "Here." Daniel blinked. "I'm fine." "It's not for you," Michael said, nodding toward Emily. Daniel hesitated. Then accepted it. Carefully placing it over her shoulders. "Thank you," he said quietly. Emily looked up at Michael. "Are you rich?" she asked. Michael paused. Then smiled slightly. "I guess you could say that." She looked at Daniel. "He's not." Daniel chuckled softly. "No, I'm definitely not." Something about the moment broke the tension. Just a little. Sirens could be heard faintly in the distance. Getting closer. "Police are on the way," Michael said. Daniel nodded. "Good." They waited. Not talking much. Just existing in the moment. 3 completely different lives. Connected by one unexpected situation. Michael glanced at Daniel again. Studying him. "You didn't have to do this," he said. Daniel looked at Emily. Then back at him. "Yeah. I did." Michael frowned slightly. "Why?" Daniel took a breath. "Because the answer wasn't simple." "Because I know what it feels like," he said finally. "To be alone, and have no one stop." That landed harder than anything else. Minutes later, a police car pulled up. Lights flashing. An officer stepped out quickly. "What's going on here?" Michael stepped forward. "This child is lost. We found her here alone." The officer nodded, kneeling down to Emily's level. "Hey sweetheart, it's okay. We're going to help you find your parents." Emily looked at Daniel again. Uncertain. "It's okay," Daniel said gently. "They're here to help." She hesitated. Then nodded slowly. As the officer spoke into his radio, another car pulled up. This time, different. A woman rushed out. Panic written all over her face. "Emily." The little girl's eyes lit up instantly. "Mom." She ran. Straight into her mother's arms. Tears. Relief. Emotion flooding all at once. "I'm so sorry," her mother cried. I turned for 1 second and... It's okay, the officer said calmly. She's safe. The mother looked up. Her eyes landed on Daniel. Then Michael. Confused. Grateful. Overwhelmed. Thank you, she said, her voice breaking. Thank you for staying with her. Daniel nodded slightly. She was scared. Emily pulled away slightly from her mother and ran back. Straight to Daniel. Wrapping her small arms around him. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel froze for a moment. Then slowly, gently, hugged her back. It's okay, he said softly. Even Michael felt something shift watching that. Something real. Something rare. Emily returned to her mother. They spoke briefly with the officers. Then, slowly, they left. Safe. Together. The street returned to normal. People walking. Cars passing. Life continuing. But for Daniel, something lingered. He turned slightly, preparing to go back to his corner. Back to invisibility. Wait, Michael said. Daniel stopped. There was a pause. A moment where something important was about to be decided. Michael reached into his wallet. Then stopped himself. That wasn't right. Not this time. Instead, he asked. What's your name? Daniel looked surprised. Daniel. I'm Michael. They shook hands. Very different lives. Same moment. You did something important today, Michael said. Daniel shrugged slightly. I just didn't walk away. Michael nodded slowly. Most people did. There was something in his tone now. Different. Not just observation. Recognition. Have you eaten today? Michael asked. Daniel hesitated. Not really. Michael gestured toward a nearby cafe. Come on. Let's fix that. Daniel instinctively stepped back slightly. I don't want charity. Michael shook his head. Good. Because I'm not offering charity. He paused. I'm offering lunch, to someone I respect. Daniel studied him for a moment. Trying to decide. Then finally. He nodded. All right. As they walked toward the cafe together. Something had already begun. Not loudly. Not obviously. But undeniably. Because sometimes. The smallest moment. Becomes the beginning of everything. The cafe was warm. Not just from the heaters humming softly near the windows, but from something deeper. The kind of warmth that made people slow down, breathe a little easier, and forget, if only for a moment, the chaos outside. Daniel hesitated at the entrance. His shoes were wet. His clothes still damp from the rain. This wasn't a place he usually stepped into. Michael noticed. It's all right, he said calmly. You're with me. Daniel nodded once and followed him inside. A few heads turned. Not many. But enough. The contrast was obvious. Michael, sharp suit, composed, confident. Daniel, soaked, worn, carrying a life most people in the room would never understand. But Michael didn't flinch. Didn't slow down. Didn't treat him like anything less than an equal. They took a seat by the window. A waitress approached, offering a polite smile. What can I get for you? Michael gestured toward Daniel. He'll go first. Daniel blinked, caught off guard. He glanced at the menu. Prices he wasn't used to seeing. Options he hadn't thought about in a long time. Just coffee is fine, he said quietly. Michael shook his head. 2 full meals, he told the waitress. And coffee. She nodded and walked away. Daniel leaned back slightly. You didn't have to do that. Michael met his gaze. I know. Silence settled between them. But not uncomfortable. Just, real. After a moment, Michael spoke again. How long have you been out there? Daniel didn't answer immediately. His eyes drifted to the window. Rain still falling. People still rushing. About a year, he said finally. Michael frowned slightly. A year? Daniel nodded. Lost my job first. What happened? Company shut down. Cuts. I wasn't the only one. Michael listened closely. No interruptions. No assumptions. Then what? He asked. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then everything else followed. A small, humorless smile. You miss one payment, then two, then suddenly you're choosing between food and rent. Michael didn't speak. He just listened. I tried, Daniel continued. Applied everywhere. Took odd jobs when I could. But it's hard to bounce back when you don't have a stable place, or clean clothes, or even an address. He looked down at his hands. People don't see you the same. Michael leaned forward slightly. And before all this? Daniel hesitated. Then shrugged. I used to work deliveries, actually. Not big money, but honest work. I liked it. A pause. I had an apartment. Nothing fancy. But it was mine. Michael absorbed every word. This wasn't just a situation. It was a story. A life interrupted. The food arrived. Plates warm. Steam rising. The smell alone made Daniel pause. For a second, he didn't move. Then, go ahead, Michael said gently. Daniel nodded and began to eat. At first slowly. Then, like someone who hadn't had a proper meal in a while. Michael didn't stare. Didn't judge. He simply took a sip of his coffee and let Daniel have that moment. After a few minutes, Daniel slowed down. Thank you, he said, more firmly this time. Michael nodded. You're welcome. Another pause. Then. That girl, Michael said. Emily. Daniel smiled faintly. She'll be okay. You made sure of that. Daniel shook his head. I just stayed. Michael leaned back. But that's the difference. Daniel looked at him, confused. Most people think helping requires something big, Michael continued. Money. Influence. Time they don't have. He paused. But today, all it required, was stopping. Daniel thought about that. Then nodded slightly. Yeah. Michael studied him again. You ever think about getting back on your feet? Daniel let out a quiet breath. Every day. What's stopping you? Daniel gave a small laugh. Where do I start? Michael didn't smile. He was serious. Start anywhere. Daniel leaned back. ID expired. No fixed address. No steady phone. Try applying for jobs like that. He shook his head. Even if I get something, where do I go after? Back to the street? The reality hit harder than any dramatic story. Because it was simple. And real. Michael tapped his fingers lightly against the table. Thinking. Not quickly. Carefully. What if that changed, he asked. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? What if you had a place to stay? Michael continued. Even temporarily. Somewhere stable. Daniel stared at him. Not hopeful. Not yet. Just cautious. That kind of help doesn't come free, Daniel said. Michael met his eyes. I'm not talking about a handout. Daniel waited. I run a company, Michael said. Logistics. Transportation. Deliveries, among other things. Daniel blinked. You're serious? Michael nodded. And I need people who show up. People who care. People who don't walk away when things get hard. Daniel's expression shifted slightly. Still guarded. But something else was there now. Interest. You don't even know me, Daniel said. Michael gave a small smile. I know enough. A pause. I saw how you treated that child, Michael continued. No cameras. No reward. No reason, except that it was the right thing to do. He leaned forward slightly. That tells me more than any resume ever could. Daniel looked down at the table. Processing everything. You're offering me a job, he asked slowly. Michael didn't answer immediately. Because this moment mattered. I'm offering you a chance, he said finally. Silence. Heavy. Important. Daniel exhaled slowly. You really think I can just step back into life like that? Michael shook his head. No. A pause. But I think you can build your way back, one step at a time. Daniel looked at him again. For the first time. Not as a stranger. But as someone opening a door. Outside, the rain began to slow. Just slightly. Inside the cafe. Everything was about to change. Sometimes. All it takes. Is one person seeing your worth. When the world has forgotten it. Daniel didn't answer right away. The question sat between them, heavy, real. A chance. Not a handout. Not pity. A chance. I don't want to mess this up, Daniel said finally. His voice was quieter now. Not uncertain, just honest. Michael nodded. That's exactly why you won't. Daniel let out a small breath, almost a laugh. You make it sound simple. It's not, Michael replied. But it's possible. Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Like something was shifting. What would I have to do? Daniel asked. Michael leaned forward slightly. First, we get you stable. He counted calmly. A place to stay. Proper clothes. New ID. The basics. Daniel listened closely. Still cautious. Still trying to understand if this was real. And the job? Daniel asked. You'd start small, Michael said. Entry level. Deliveries, warehouse support, whatever fits. You prove yourself, you grow. He paused. No shortcuts. No special treatment. Daniel nodded slowly. I wouldn't want that anyway. Michael studied him for a moment. Then smiled faintly. I figured. Daniel looked down at his empty plate. Then back up. When do we start? Michael didn't hesitate. Now. That word landed differently. Now. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Within an hour, they were back outside. The rain had stopped. The street still wet, but clearer. Like the city itself had taken a breath. Michael made a call. Arrangements. Simple. Direct. Efficient. By evening, Daniel stood in front of a small but clean apartment building. Nothing fancy. But solid. Safe. Real. This is temporary, Michael said. Company housing we use for new staff or short-term placements. Daniel didn't speak. He just stared. You'll have a bed, Michael continued. Shower. Kitchen. A place to reset. He handed Daniel a key. Daniel held it in his palm. Turning it slightly. As if making sure it wasn't imaginary. I haven't had one of these in a long time, he said quietly. Michael nodded. Get used to it. Inside, the apartment was simple. A small living space. A bed neatly made. Clean towels folded on a chair. Basic groceries already stocked. Daniel stepped in slowly. Like someone afraid the moment might disappear if he moved too fast. This is more than I expected, he said. Michael leaned against the doorframe. It's not charity, he reminded him again. Daniel nodded. I know. A pause. But it still means a lot. Michael pushed off the frame. Good. Because tomorrow, we get to work. Daniel turned. Tomorrow? Michael smirked slightly. You said you didn't want to mess this up. For the first time. Daniel smiled properly. Yeah. I did. That night. For the first time in months. Daniel slept in a bed. A real one. No noise of passing cars inches away. No cold biting through layers. No fear of being woken up or moved along. Just silence. Warmth. And something unfamiliar. Peace. Morning came differently. Not rushed. Not harsh. Gentle. Daniel woke up slowly. For a second, he forgot where he was. Then he saw the ceiling. The room. The light coming through the window. And it hit him. This was real. He sat up. Ran his hands over his face. Then looked around again. Still there. On the table. A small envelope. He stood and picked it up. Inside. A note. Clothes are in the closet. Be ready by 9. Michael. Daniel glanced toward the bedroom. Opened the closet. Shirts. Pants. Shoes. Nothing extravagant. But clean. Fitted. New. He exhaled slowly. By 9 a.m. sharp. Daniel stepped outside. Dressed. Clean. Different. Michael's car pulled up. Right on time. He stepped out, looked Daniel over once, and nodded. Better already. Daniel gave a small smile. Feels strange. It's supposed to, Michael replied. You're stepping into a new life. They drove in silence for a bit. Not awkward. Just thoughtful. Eventually, they pulled into a large facility. Busy. Organized. People moving with purpose. This is one of our main distribution centers, Michael said. Daniel stepped out. Taking it all in. Trucks loading. Workers communicating. Systems running smoothly. You ready? Michael asked. Daniel looked at him. Then back at the building. A deep breath. Yeah, he said. As they walked inside. A few employees greeted Michael respectfully. Then their eyes shifted briefly to Daniel. Curious. Michael didn't explain. Didn't need to. He simply said. This is Daniel. He's starting today. No backstory. No labels. No judgment. Just a name. And a beginning. And for Daniel. That meant everything. Because sometimes. A second chance doesn't come with an announcement. It comes quietly. In the form of someone who believes in you. Before you fully believe in yourself. Daniel stood still for a moment after Michael walked away. The noise of the warehouse surrounded him. Machines humming. Voices calling out instructions. Boxes moving from one place to another. Life, in motion. A supervisor approached him. You're Daniel, right? Yeah. I'm Chris. I'll show you the basics. No special treatment. Just work. Exactly how Daniel wanted it. The first few hours were tough. Not because the job was complicated, but because it had been a long time since Daniel felt responsible for something again. Every movement mattered. Every task had a purpose. Stack these here. Label those. Careful with that one. Simple instructions. But to Daniel, they meant something bigger. He wasn't invisible here. He wasn't that guy on the street. He was part of something. At lunch break, he sat alone at first. Watching others talk, laugh, scroll through their phones. Normal life. Something he was slowly stepping back into. Mind if I sit? Daniel looked up. It was Chris. Sure, Daniel said. You're doing all right for your first day, Chris added. Daniel nodded. Trying to. Chris leaned back slightly. Most people don't last their first week here. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Why's that? Too demanding, Chris shrugged. Or they just don't care enough. He paused. You don't seem like that. Daniel looked down at his hands for a moment. Then said quietly, I don't have the luxury not to care. Chris didn't respond immediately. But he understood. Good, he said finally. That's the kind of attitude that sticks. Days turned into weeks. Daniel showed up early. Stayed late when needed. Asked questions. Learned quickly. No complaints. No excuses. And people started noticing. Hey Daniel, can you handle this delivery? Daniel, I need help with inventory. Daniel, good job yesterday. Little things. But they added up. One afternoon, Michael stood on the upper level overlooking the warehouse floor. Watching. Not interfering. Just observing. Chris walked up beside him. That guy you brought in, he said. Michael nodded. Daniel. Chris crossed his arms. He's solid. Michael didn't look away. I know. Works harder than most, Chris continued. Doesn't talk much. But when he does, it matters. A small smile formed on Michael's face. Keep an eye on him, he said. Chris nodded. Already am. That evening, as Daniel finished his shift, Michael approached him. Walk with me, he said. They stepped outside. The sun was setting. The sky painted in orange and gold. Different from the day they first met. No rain. No chaos. Just calm. You've been doing well, Michael said. Daniel nodded. Just doing my job. Michael looked at him. No. You're rebuilding your life. That hit differently. Daniel took a breath. Feels that way. They walked a few more steps. Do you remember what you said that day? Michael asked. Daniel frowned slightly. What part? I just didn't walk away. Daniel nodded. Yeah. Michael stopped walking. Daniel did the same. That moment changed more than you think, Michael said. Daniel looked at him, confused. Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Tapped a few times. Then turned the screen toward Daniel. A video. Daniel squinted slightly. Then froze. It was him. That day. In the rain. Kneeling beside Emily. Offering her the sandwich. Someone recorded it, Michael said. It's been circulating online. Daniel stared at the screen. Comments. Thousands of them. Faith in humanity restored. Find this man. This is what kindness looks like. Daniel swallowed. I didn't do it for this. I know, Michael said. That's why it mattered. There's more, Michael added. He scrolled. Another post. Emily. With her mother. Smiling. Safe. Her mother shared this, Michael said. She's been trying to find you. Daniel blinked. Why? To say thank you. Silence. Real, heavy silence. Come with me tomorrow, Michael said. Where? You'll see. The next day. Daniel found himself standing in front of a small community center. Nervous. For the first time since starting work, nervous. Inside. A small group of people had gathered. And there she was. Emily. The moment she saw him. Her face lit up. Daniel. She ran straight to him. Just like before. He knelt instinctively. Smiling. Hey, kid. Her mother approached more slowly. Eyes filled with emotion. I've been looking everywhere for you, she said. Daniel stood up. It's okay. She's safe, that's what matters. The woman shook her head. No, what you did, that's what matters. She handed him a small envelope. Daniel hesitated. I don't need. It's not money, she said gently. He opened it. Inside. A drawing. A child's drawing. 3 figures. A little girl. A tall man. And another man standing nearby. Rain falling around them. At the top, written in uneven letters. My hero. Daniel's throat tightened. I drew it, Emily said proudly. For a moment. Everything else faded. All the struggles. All the nights. All the pain. This was worth something. More than money. More than recognition. It was proof that even at your lowest, you can still be someone's reason to feel safe. Michael watched from a distance. Silent. Satisfied. Because he didn't just help Daniel. Daniel had already proven who he was. He just needed someone to see it. And now, the world could see it too. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness comes back in ways you never expect. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment to change everything. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. And remember, kindness doesn't require permission. It just requires action.